It is Monday, May the 4th, and you're watching the Sick Podcast. Trust the process. Boy, oh boy, do we have a slate of topics for you today. Obviously, the Montreal Canadiens take care of business in Game 7, sort of. But a win is a win. They move on to round 2. We're going to break down that the first round series. We're going to preview their upcoming series against the Buffalo Sabres. We also have to talk about the Laval Rocket, who are not off to the start that they were hoping for against the Toronto Marlies, down 1-2 already. What's gone wrong here? They maybe have some reinforcements coming up, so we'll see about that. The draft lottery is tomorrow. I don't think many people are aware of that. I've seen a lot of reactions say, well, really? Yes, the draft lottery is tomorrow. So we're going to look at the odds. We're going to talk about which teams need that first overall pick the most this year. There was some hirings in the Toronto area. We're going to talk about those. The Edmonton Oilers bounced in the first round. We got to talk about that. Man, there's just so much to cover. So why don't we just cut to the chase, Jimmy? Let's get the show started.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Trust the process. The sickest NHL prospect podcast with Snake and Shayne.
With the 5th overall selection in the 2024 NHL Draft, the Montreal Canadiens are proud to select Ivan Demidov.
It's gonna be sick.
Producer Shayne here, joined as always by my co-host and fellow member of Mount Sycamore, Simon the Snake Boisvert. Snake, how are we feeling today?
I'm doing great. And by the way, it's a coincidence that we're both wearing the same t-shirt today.
This.
Yeah, we did not. No, it's like we said, it's a fun time of the year for hockey fans, and especially for Habs fans this morning. Look, for those who say that they didn't deserve the win, I think yesterday they did not deserve the win, really, aside from Dobeš. However, it doesn't mean they didn't deserve the series.
Correct. Because you can make the same argument that Vasilevsky stole Game 6.
Exactly.
It all evens out. The better team won that series. Snake, we can, reminisce and wrap up on this one. But first and foremost, I think it's worth acknowledging that this series brought us everything we were hoping for and then some. Like before the series even began, right? We had predicted that, this series could be the best one, along with Dallas, Minnesota. That had all the makings of a good one. Maybe a bit of a letdown in that one, only going to 6. Credit to Minnesota. They really took it to Dallas. But this one was as close as they get. Every single game was a 1-goal game, 4 overtimes. I mean, like, you can't script it any better. Neither team won 2 games in a row. It was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. The goalies had a say in it. The special teams had a say in it. Everything factored in this series. Credit to both teams for giving us some damn good hockey. I think no matter who you cheer for, you can appreciate the quality of hockey that was on the ice in this series. So kudos to everybody involved in that one. But with that being said, see you later, Kucherov. I mean, listen, I'm not going to mince words. I despise that guy. The most unlikable superstar in the league. I hate the way he plays.
Yeah. I like him.
My God. He's got one of the worst characters, I find. Like, he's just so despicable. He plays the wrong way. He always looks frustrated. Doesn't seem like a good teammate. Listen, I don't know the guy, right? I'm bagging on him, but I don't know. It felt good to get it off my chest. I hate that guy.
Well, he's been there for 10 years. They won 2 Stanley Cups. So, but just since you mentioned the Tampa Bay Lightning, I think this is going to be an interesting topic for a future show. is where do they go from here now? And like I said, I can't summarize it in 30 seconds. So we'll have to do a segment about this later on. But the question is, are they a good candidate for a rebuild?
Ooh.
Let's talk about this on another day, because I think personally they would be the perfect candidate for a full rebuild, because they still have a lot of players that they can trade and get some great players.
Great value.
Yeah, great value.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they've been eliminated in the first round for 4 years in a row now. 4. Okay, that should say something. They haven't won a round since
You went to the finals.
Yeah, 2022. Yeah. Against Colorado. I think if they don't do something now, yes, they might be very competitive for the next couple of years, obviously, because they still got 106 points this year. But then aren't they just delaying the inevitable, which is probably the bottom of the standings at some point, when the Kucherovs, Hedmans, and company basically, Father Time will catch up to them.
Yeah. I you know what? I think Hedman's status could be a good indicator of where they're going to go. Without Hedman, I don't think that they can aspire to be contenders.
No, and he's going to be
as good as Kucherov can be.
Exactly.
Not in the playoffs, however, because he was so great lately. Yeah. But I mean, it has to be in consideration here. So we'll save that topic for another time. Let's recap this series as a whole, Snake, through 7 games. Your main takeaways for the Montreal Canadiens. What stood out to you? What do you want them to continue doing in the second round? What gives you hope? What gives you concern? Let's break it.
Yeah, well, first of all, obviously Dobeš was the MVP for the series. I had Lane Hudson as the MVP for most of the series, and I think he was the Habs' second best player. But Dobeš really saved the game yesterday. What really impressed me about him is that he's been pretty steady, whereas this guy, ever since he's reached the NHL, it's always been like a little bit of an adventure. I don't know how many times I've heard fans, telling me that whenever there's a shot on goal, they always hold their breath. Well, you know what? Not so much in that series. He was very, very, very good.
One bad goal, that's it.
Exactly. And to me, this is very important. The number of bad goals to me is very important. I don't care how you stop the puck. He gave a lot of rebounds this year, a lot of juicy rebounds, but not so much in that series. Obviously, but he did get helped by the Habs defense. I mean, it was really a wall in front of him. Yeah. I don't know how many block shots there were yesterday, but so did Tampa. But it's the playoffs, In the playoffs, players sacrifice their body to block shots. So that does help. However, I think Dobeš is obviously going to be the number 1 goalie starting next year for the Habs. Probably with Fowler as his backup.
1A, 1B.
1A, 1B. I mean, could be like, 50 games and 34 games, because we're going up to 84 games next year, which is why it's very important also to have a very good backup goalie. I know it's just 2 games, but still 84 games. I mean, that's a lot of hockey. You can't have a goalie play 65 games, and it does make sense. So I think the Habs are really, really in a great position, and these guys don't cost much because they're on rookie contracts. And by the way, our friend and listener Rick Woods mentioned in the comment section, and I'm not sure I understood well, but he sort of implied that Jakub Dobeš's performance could influence the Calder Trophy vote this year. If I understood well, I'm just going to clarify this. The votes are in already. It's only for the regular season. Same with the Hart Trophy, the Norris Trophy. There is a trophy for the playoffs. It's the Conn Smythe Trophy, and that's the only trophy that he actually could win. but he had a very good rookie season, and he's probably going to finish in the top 5-6 on the ballot. With the Snuggeroods and the Senecas and obviously Matthew Schaefer, Demidov, Kapanen. I think he's going to be in the top 5-6. Aside from that, I know that the first line didn't play well in the first series, but for the second series, when you switch matchups, maybe against Buffalo they'll play great. We don't know. We absolutely don't know. So you can't. When I analyze playoff performances with players, I go from one series to the other, because it's one series where you don't play well is not an indicator that you won't play well in series number 2. And if you play great in series number 1, it doesn't mean in series number 2 that you're going to play great, because you played the same team for 2 weeks, and some matchups are a better fit with you than others. And the Tampa Bay matchup probably was not a good fit for the Suzuki line, although I have to say that Suzuki played better in the last couple of games.
He was excellent.
He was excellent. So, maybe they'll be the stars of the second series. So and that's why when a team is eliminated in round 1 and some players don't play well, they often get labeled, oh, he's not a good playoff performer. Well, you know what? When a team reaches the finals, 2-3 years in a row, like Florida, you have a better sample size because the team played 12 rounds. So you know, but if a team goes to the playoffs like once every other year and they get kicked out after one round, then it's a very small sample size before you can say, oh, this guy's not a playoff performer. So we'll see what happens in the second round. And I think we're going to talk about the Buffalo Sabres. We'll see how they match up with the Habs. But to conclude on Montreal, I think it was still a great team effort. And, Josh Henderson was good. I mean, you need good bottom 6 players. Now, against Buffalo, we'll see.
Yeah. Another name, Snake, that, has gotten some praise, but I want to give some as well. Zach Bolduc overall had a very strong series here. And this is a player that many people were questioning heading into the playoffs. Could he actually be a scratch because of how he played in the regular season? It was up and down. You know what I mean? Like, he never really found his footing. He never found consistent line mates either. And then Marty puts him with Kirby Dach and Alex Texier, 2 other guys that were considered potential scratches, and together they were fantastic. So, look, the playoffs are funny like that, but focusing in on Bolduc.
I'm not surprised, honestly, because I liked him. I love the trade. Yeah, I love the trade last year. I know that Mailloux did well after he was called up from the American Hockey League, but I still like the trade. We'll see what happens. It takes a few years. Just a quick parenthesis, Texier. Oh, man. If I'm Martin St. Louis, I would not have played him in the playoffs, because to me, he's not a playoff guy. And he was good. So you all kinds of surprises in the playoffs. Yeah. It's really a crapshoot trying to predict the performance. But again, maybe against Buffalo, maybe he'll disappear. We don't know.
Brand new series.
Maybe it'll be great again. Who knows? But yeah, it's kind of like that. Dach, Texier, and Bolduc. Yeah, 3 guys who could have been healthy scratches.
It's playoffs are funny like that, but they also bring out some great stories. I mean, the whole Kirby Dach situation after game 2 comes back. Game 3 has a game of his life. You know what I mean? Like, it's just beautiful stuff like that. And to wrap up on Bolduc specifically, I'm really happy for him. And I think this is something that he can take with him next season as well, right? He's learning what works and what isn't working in the most high pressure situation imaginable against one of the better teams in the NHL this season. And it worked. So hopefully, you know what, he can take that into next season and be a regular season player on top of being a playoff type performer. So good on him for that. Final thoughts on the series before we get to the Buffalo Sabres.
Well, it's I don't recall seeing a series where we had 7 1-goal games. So
crazy,
crazy for young
Yeah.
folks like you, it might be the best playoff series they've ever watched.
It is for me. It is.
Yeah. Obviously, for me, it's not because I've been watching this stuff for like 52, 53 years, but I don't recall having seen 7 one-goal games. Maybe somewhere in the record books, someone will do some kind of research, the Elias Sports Bureau or something, and they'll come up with something that we'll see on Twitter in the next day or two. But I don't recall seeing this. So every game either went to overtime or down to the wire at 6-on-5 at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, and there was never also something that I've never seen before. There was not even one game where a team, I think, took a 3-goal lead at some point during the game. I think there were 2-goal leads. Not that much. It happened once or twice, maybe.
The series was either tied or within 1-goal difference for, I think, 98% of the entire series.
That I have never seen before.
All the more reason to change the playoff format, Gary. This was not a first-round matchup. This was a conference final matchup.
Or at least the second-round matchup, let's say.
At least.
A second-round matchup. Yeah.
These two teams were
look at Dallas
way
and
too
Minnesota.
evenly matched for this.
Look at Dallas and Minnesota. It sucked that one of them is gone.
Yeah.
But what a crazy game in Colorado last night, 9-6. I mean, which is rare. Yeah, well, even in the regular season, it's rare to see 15 goals being scored. But that was absolutely crazy. I don't know if it's the prelude to a very high scoring series or simply an aberration. I think it's an aberration.
Most likely.
But yeah, I think it's an aberration. But that was quite entertaining, I have to say.
I think I saw on social media that it was the 10th highest scoring game in playoff history.
Yeah.
That's
and
nuts.
that probably includes the 1980s where goals were so easy to score.
That's it. So in the big 2026, I mean, wow. But yeah, no, defense was optional yesterday in Colorado. Goaltending as well, apparently. I don't know.
It was a
weird game.
Everything was optional. Yeah.
Yeah. To your point, Snake, about this being one of the better series that, many fans my age have seen.
Mm-hmm.
The only other one that comes to mind is Montreal Boston in 2014. I still remember that one vividly. Went to 7. It was crazy stuff, but it wasn't as close, right? I mean, sure, game 1 went to second overtime, and then it was 5-3 Bruins, 4-2 Montreal, 1-0 Bruins, 4-2 Bruins, 4-0 Montreal, and then 3-1 Montreal. So it was a little more spaced out, but it was still a crazy series. I think this one takes the cake, though.
I don't think there were empty net goals in the Montreal-Tampa series. That's also surprising.
0.
Yesterday, Slavkovsky, they showed the replay over.
Oh, my God.
Can you imagine, Shayne?
I don't want to imagine.
If Tampa Bay scores afterwards and they win in overtime.
Listen, I looked at my girlfriend. I'm like, no, this can't be.
Because I think Slavkovsky was a little bit nonchalant.
I actually like the play he made.
Yeah, it was nice.
But he had to elevate that thing. He had to elevate it.
And I haven't seen him play, but I've heard so much about him, and I saw clips. We can all see clips on YouTube. But someone like Rocket Richard, from what I was told at the time, he would have just carried the damn puck in the net.
Yeah, that's it.
Because he was so aggressive,
Bulldoze.
Yeah, whereas Slavkovsky, it was nice, but it was fancy,
Yeah, but I understood the point of holding on to it, wasting some time, right? And then making sure you chip it in, but he forgot the chip part. Exactly. Credit to Brandon Hagel as well for the nice play.
Yeah.
But no, oh my God, I was I was clenching, man. I was clenching. I'm like, there's no way they do it. But yeah, no. Credit to Nick Suzuki in the dying seconds. The captain puts his body on the line, blocks a big shot. So that's captain material right there. Good leader.
Yeah, but he should think about his streak,
What's that?
The streak doesn't count in the playoffs. The number of consecutive games.
The Iron Man streak?
Yeah, the Iron Man streak, but it doesn't count in the playoffs anyway. So he would have like 5 months to get ready for October.
That guy doesn't care. He just wants to win. He wants to help his team. So good stuff from them. Look, Game 7 wasn't pretty, but a win is a win. They're on to round 2, and they're off to face the Buffalo Sabres, one of the better stories this season. I'm so happy for them. Sidebar really quickly on the Sabres. Had Tampa won this series, the first round series, I was cheering for the Sabres to go all the way. Like, I love their story this season. I love the way they play. Rasmus Dahlin, what a story he was, right, with his wife. Everything that happened to him. He had an incredible season. The fan base there has been through so much disappointment and just pain, really, for the last, 15 years or something. It's a really nice story for them to move on to the second round, go on a little playoff run. But I think it's going to be a little playoff run because the Habs are here, baby. The Habs are here.
Look, I'll give you my take.
Let's be objective for a second.
Yeah, I watched the series against Boston because I'm very intrigued by the Sabres. This is a team that I followed for many, many years as a fan of rebuilds. And at some point, I gave up. Honestly, I gave up.
Hard not to.
Yeah. And I said, okay, the mix doesn't work. And then Kevin Adams started changing things by trading a couple of skill players, JT Peterka and Matthew Savoie, in exchange for Ryan McLeod and Josh Doan. And basically, it pretty much follows my theory that you draft talent, regardless of the position or the size or anything, and then you make trades to fill the holes. And this is exactly what he did. Then they went 3 games in a row, and for some reason, at that point, he was fired. No, but it's surprising that he was fired during a winning streak.
Yeah.
Usually, coaches and GMs are fired after a losing streak. So when I look at Buffalo, my analysis is that if you look at their top 9 and top 4 on defense, I do think that on paper they are stronger than the Habs because I like the fact that there's a lot of diversity in the sense that there are some big guys, there are some small guys, skilled guys, tough guys. If you want size, you have Tage Thompson, you have Josh Doan, you have Ryan McLeod, but you also have, smaller guys like Zach Benson, Jason Zucker, Peyton Krebs. Peyton Krebs, by the way, playing great hockey. I always loved this prospect. It's kind of a good year for him. That's another one I had given up on. Now, Josh Norris is healthy for once. Yeah, because that was a trade. I mean, Cousins for Norris. I know Cousins was struggling, but I'm thinking, wow, what the heck is this? Get a healthy player for Cousins. Now, and the top 4 in defense, the lean power, that power has really improved this year. That's another one I had given up on. Samuelson, steady really performer, very good, and the other one, obviously. Bowen Byron, healthy Bowen Byron. Now, where am I going with this? Where I'm going is that when you look at the roster, you're thinking, this is going to be tough for the Habs. The Habs are done. However, here's a few concerns that I have about the Sabres for whatever it's worth. Lack of playoff experience, and historically, it's rare that emerging teams make a very long run. They often get bounced in the first round, actually, but Boston was in the playoffs. Kudos to, management, because honestly, it was not a very talented team. Okay, so I'm not surprised that Buffalo won.
Yeah.
But historically, it's rare that a team like the Sabres would go straight to the finals in the first year of making the playoffs. So that's one concern. I'm just following probabilities, history, whatever. Second thing is they have 2 key injuries, in my opinion. Noah Östlund, who's a good middle of the lineup center. And I know they have depth, so it's okay. They can live without him. But there is this guy named Sam Carrick. That man is a real son of a gun.
Oh, he's annoying.
And he's a pest. He can score a few goals. So I think the Habs not having Carrick chasing them around is really a plus for the Habs and a concern for Buffalo. Now, on defense, they're going to have to play those four guys that I mentioned like 25 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Because are they going to trust, now that, are they going to trust, Stanley, Kesselring, Connor Timmins? I don't know how they're going to do it, but I'm not sure these guys can play tough minutes. And that's where the Habs could take advantage of them because the Habs have more depth on defense. So the matchups, I think, especially at the Bell Center, are going to be important. So that could be one of their Achilles heel. And in net, well, they start with UPL. They put Lyon in. Lyon was good this year. He was good. He was good to finish the series against Boston. He's not a name, but we've talked about this last week. You don't have to be a name. You just have to perform well. Yeah. And it just so happens that if you perform well at that given moment, then your team's going to be good. So I'm not saying, when I say that, goalies are voodoo, what I mean is that they're very unpredictable in general. Unless you're a big name, a Vasilevsky, a Carey Price, but even a Hellebuck was not good in the playoffs the last couple of years. So, but he was very good at the Olympics. So, it's hard to predict. So, but it's still a concern for Buffalo that I think they have two NHL goalies, but do they really have two reliable NHL goalies? I'm not sure. So those are little things. But overall, I find that Buffalo's top nine, the Habs are going to have their hands full with these guys. If it was tough against Tampa Bay last night, imagine against Buffalo. But Dobeš plays well, and if they're being opportunistic, and the Suzuki line plays better, could be a better fit, like we talked about. That the Habs have a chance.
Of course. Of course, and they split the season series just like they did with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So, again, these are two fairly evenly matched teams, two up-and-coming teams with very little playoff experience, to your point, Snake. But the Habs do have a bit more experience than the Sabres. To your point now, I like the way that the Sabres spread the wealth in their top nine, right? It's not superstar-focused like the Tampa Bay Lightning, where they're relying pretty much solely on 3-4 players in their top six to carry the load offensively. The first three lines can hurt you. I mean, Tage Thompson, Alex Tuch, Peyton Krebs on the first, McLeod, Quinn, Zucker on the second, Norris, Benson, Doan on the third. That's a crazy third line.
Yes.
And then the fourth line is really annoying. I mean, Kozak, Malenstein, and Greenway can really bother another line.
Malenstein is very good. He's very good.
Underrated.
Jonathan Greenway is not a great player, but he's a monster.
Exactly. So,
and that's why. But the loss of Sam Carrick is going to hurt because Kozak is okay, but I much prefer Sam Carrick as a fourth liner.
Of course.
But the top nine is very scary when you think about it because one game it could be the first line who kills you. Second game it could be the third line. Third game, whereas Tampa, we all knew that if it wasn't going to be the Kucherov and Point and Hagel, they were pretty much done like dinner. Yeah.
But you're right, Snake, in the fact that those two injuries could really hurt them, but also the depth on defense. They have 4 defensemen who are really good, to their credit. The other 2, question marks, right? There's going to be switches. Stanley might see some time. Kesselring's going to see some time. Timmins going to see some time. Who knows about Luke Schenn? Whatever. I don't think he's a factor. But the fact that the Habs got Noah Dobson back, and seemingly very healthy, like the way he played yesterday, no red flags at all. Like he was fantastic. So now they're actually healthier than they were starting round one, which is crazy to say.
Of course.
But that's an advantage for Montreal. Now, quickly on Alex Lyon. UPL unlikely to get any time in this series unless Lyon really craps the bed here. But Lyon, like you said, isn't an established name. Hasn't really accomplished a ton in his time in the NHL. Has mostly been, a reliable backup goalie. Now he's put in a position to be the starter, and he's done well with it this season overall.
Yeah.
However, he's beatable. You know what I mean? Like this isn't Andrei Vasilevsky. It's a pretty big step down. Let's be honest.
No.
So if you're the Montreal Canadiens, I mean, the game plan most likely has to be get pucks on net, try to beat this guy because he's beatable. You don't have to do the most and tap pucks in the air like Alex Newhook yesterday to beat Vasilevsky. Like you could beat this guy with a shot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. But will the Habs have enough opportunities? Because if they play like yesterday with 9 shots on goal,
that was an aberration. I don't think
it was. No, it's not going to repeat itself.
No,
but I think there are going to be more wide open games. That's one thing that I want to mention.
Yes,
what I've noticed about Tampa and Montreal, there was no space.
Correct.
There was absolutely no space. So the skill players couldn't do much, whether it be Suzuki or Kucherov. It was hard for the skill players to do anything because there was no space. This was not your typical October weeknight game, at the Bell Center where basically it's run and gun. I think against Buffalo, I think the only prediction I would risk making on this series, it's going to be more wide open.
More goals. I agree.
More goals, more wide open, more up and down hockey, I would think.
Yeah. And that to me favors Montreal. When the game opens up and it's run and gun, it's fast paced. Yeah. That's their style. That's when they succeed.
Buffalo's good too at it.
They're good too at it.
That's why this series is very, very hard to predict.
It's going to be fun, man. It's going to be
very hard
fun
to predict.
Series.
Yeah, it should be a fun series. We haven't seen a Montreal Buffalo matchup in I don't know how many years, 20 years maybe.
90. I saw it somewhere.
Didn't they play in the 2000s when Buffalo had a good team in the early 2000s?
I think I thought I saw 90 something, but
okay, could be in the 90s.
Point is, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. I mean, because Buffalo has not been good.
No.
Montreal for a while, as Montreal has been very up and down in the 2000s. So it's nice to see a matchup. It's a matchup that I used to see quite a bit when I was a kid. Montreal Buffalo. At the time, the Buffalo Sabres had a line that was nicknamed the French Connection. Why were they nicknamed the French Connection? Because it was 3 French Canadian players on that line. There were 3 stars and 90, 100-point players, Perrault, Martin, and Robert. And there was a movie in 1973 or 74 that won Best Picture at the Oscar ceremony called The French Connection. So that was a little blast from the past from Montreal and Buffalo when the matchups were very, very interesting. So it's been a while.
Yeah, and credit to producer Jimmy who did the research for us. 1998 was the last time these two teams played in the playoffs.
You weren't even born, Shayne. You weren't even born.
I was not born.
I think Dominik Hasek was the goalie for the Sabres, and I think they reached the Stanley Cup Finals that year or the year after. Anyway, they had a very good team back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and then boom, the last 20 years have been awful. I don't think they had won a playoff series since 2007. Wow. Look, it's fun, new teams. Not always, the same teams as the last 10, 15 years. I think it's fun.
The last 6 years, we've seen a Florida-based team in the Stanley Cup final.
That's true.
The last 6 years.
Won't happen this year.
Finally. Finally. Key matchups. Now, it's kind of hard to predict what the lines are going to look like, especially for Montreal, since Marty's been juggling them. But which confrontations are you going to be keeping an eye on the most here?
That's a tough question because honestly, I don't know what both coaches are going to do with their lines. Yeah. But I think I'm going to go back to what I was telling you. I want to see how Martin Saint-Louis reacts especially in Montreal, when he gets the last change, and they bring the third pairing. Buffalo brings the third pairing defenseman, which I think is a weakness. Whoever plays there. However, they're probably going to give them ozone starts.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's we'll see. We'll see. I think that's what I'm the most interested in, because this is probably the only, like the roster has like 40 players. Both rosters have 40 players total, and I think the real weakness of all these 40 guys is the third pairing of the Buffalo Sabres on defense.
Yeah.
And that's why they were looking for Colton Parayko. The trade that failed. That's why. And some thought, it's overkill. They have Bowen Byram already and Darlene. And but what about those 10, 15 minutes that you need someone on the ice in the playoffs and you don't want to get screwed? Yeah. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. As for other matchups, I don't really know. Suzuki against the Thompson line and everything. It's hard to tell.
I'm going to be curious, actually, as to which defenseman gets the Tage Thompson assignment. Who's going to be covering him? Because, if you let that guy get an inch, he'll put the puck in the net. Like, he's got a wicked shot, great hands for a big man. So someone's going to need to be on him like a fly on shit. Like, do not let him go away at all. And then who's going to be matched up with a third line for Buffalo, right? That third line can really hurt you. They're going to be really annoying to play against. If Josh Norris can stay healthy, he can be a factor. So who's going to be matched up against them? I'm curious to see. It's not going to be an easy task. The Habs do not have an easy path to the finals. Let's just say that.
Like I told you, I prefer Buffalo's top 9, honestly. I don't know if you do too, but I think they're slightly better.
Yeah, I like the Habs upside, if that makes sense. Like, offensively, the upside I feel can be bigger in Montreal, but I like the way that Buffalo spreads the wealth. Being able to run 4 lines is something that gets overlooked. It's a very big advantage. Yeah. You get to rest your players. You don't have to double shift your best guys. It's it's going to be a really evenly matched series again. I'm very sorry in advance for all Habs fans' hearts. Get your pacemakers ready again. Get a defibrillator on the side here. It's not going to be an easy one. But it should be a little more open, like you say, Snake. But all gets underway Wednesday. So game 1 will have happened before our next show. Yeah. So we'll be able to talk about that. But I think we have to move on now to the Laval Rocket because they're also in a playoff series, and the scheduling made it so that they were playing at the same time as the Habs. Yeah. So I'm assuming not many people watched the games. Luckily for you, you didn't miss much. You did not miss much because
especially yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the Rocket are down 1 game to 2 to the Toronto Marlies, and I just want to remind everybody this is a 3 of 5. So first team to win 3 moves on. That means the Laval Rocket are facing elimination in their next game. The first game was amazing. They won that one pretty well. They looked really good. The next 2 now, game 2 was indiscipline, right? Yeah. They let in 4 power play goals, and game 3 was goaltending. Kaapo Kähkönen let in 4 on 12 shots.
Yeah, they would have needed Jacob Fowler. Yeah.
Exactly. So they might have lost anyways. Yeah. But at least 4 goals on 12 shots is unacceptable. That seems to be the story of the series so far.
It's a quick series, but one point, Adam Engstrom is coming back, obviously. We saw this morning that he was sent down. So that's going to help. That's going to help. The series ain't over, but the thing about Toronto, if you look at the Marlies roster, they faced Rochester in the first round. Rochester had a younger roster because Buffalo is more into developing players. The Maple Leafs, they have no one to develop. So if you look at their roster, it's an old team. I don't think there's any guy age like 20 or even 21 that's relevant to the future of the Leafs.
The only one is Easton Cowan. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. So so to me, it's really not that it's not fair, because it's I don't want to find that type of excuse, but I think the Rocket is more into developing players than Toronto. And that's why the American Hockey League, the Hershey Bears, won so many titles, because they're not into developing players. They're independently owned. And when the teams are independently owned, well, they just want to win. The owner wants to win. So yeah, he has a farm team an NHL team that he has to deal with. But you don't necessarily have final say on the roster. If you look at Toronto, Logan Shaw, I mean, the guy's been playing forever, played a bit.
Former Hab,
yeah. Alex Nylander, brother of William, who is strictly an AHL player, and obviously an NHL draft bust. He was a number 8 pick overall. Yeah. Benoit Olivier Groux, who never found a niche as a fourth liner in the NHL in Anaheim, but now he's a good AHL player. Vinny Lettieri, look, Henry Thrun, look, the list goes on. I mean, they're not preparing these guys for the NHL. So look, if the Rocket lose it against them, it kind of sucks, because it stops, it finishes the season, for Reinbacher and Engstrom and these guys. But at the same time, I mean, there's nothing to be worried about in terms of the Habs' future, because they will have been beaten by a team that's much more experienced. But we'll see. The series ain't over. But best of 5, they better win tomorrow. I mean, this is obvious. But and the game is in Toronto.
Yeah. Look, if Kakinen can make some saves and they can stay out of the box, I think they have a chance. Yeah. Clearly, that's been the story of this series so far.
The series will be over, I think, or almost over the next time we speak. Won't it?
Should be.
I'm going to look at. I have the schedule here. What do I see here? No, it won't necessarily be over, because Game 4 is on Tuesday.
Okay.
So and Game 5 would be in Laval next Friday.
Yeah.
So either we do the post-mortem for Laval, or we preview game number 5 on Thursday.
Well, either way, we're going to talk about the Rocket on Thursday. So make sure you're subscribed. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new episode. All right. Before we move along, Snake, a quick word from our partners here at the Sick Podcast. First and foremost, our friends at Cheapest T-Shirts. If you are looking for the cheapest prices on wholesale apparel in Canada, you will find them at cheapesttshirts.ca. They're proudly Canadian and trusted by thousands of customers from coast to coast. They deliver unbeatable value every day. You'll always get the cheapest prices plus same-day shipping and even next-day delivery, so your order arrives fast. You can enjoy free shipping on larger orders and a simple, easy-to-use website that makes online ordering a breeze. Get the cheapest deals in Canada today at cheapesttshirts.ca. And a word as well from Betway, where you can get a deposit match-up bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. You can scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. The offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. The offer is not available in Ontario, and you must be 18 years or older. Please play responsibly. There is an event not related to the NHL playoffs taking place tomorrow night, May 5th, 7 p.m. Eastern. The NHL Draft Lottery will take place, and we have the draft odds here along with the teams to talk about them. Obviously, the Vancouver Canucks finished dead last in the NHL, so they get the best odds, 18.5% of winning the lottery, getting the first overall pick. Then it's the Blackhawks at 13.5%, the Rangers, the Flames, the Leafs. If the Leafs get past, that pick goes to Boston. So they want to stay in the top 5. Seattle Kraken, Jets, Panthers. Could you imagine if the oh no, this would not be okay. This would not be okay. Anyways, you have the list here for those watching. For those listening, we invite you to come over to come over to YouTube. We're not that ugly, I don't think so. But if you prefer listening to us, that's fine as well. We appreciate all of our listeners. Snake, look, obviously we don't know the result ahead of time, but in your opinion, which team needs this first overall pick the most?
Well, one thing I want to mention is that although Vancouver has an 18% chance of winning the lottery, it's actually 25.5.
Yeah.
Why is it 25.5? Because teams can only move up 10 spots. So if a team that has the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th best chances in the lottery win the lottery, automatically it goes to Vancouver. And it doesn't count as a lottery win, by the way, because you cannot get more than 2 lottery wins in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, if they stay number 1 because someone else, if they stay number 1, it's not a lottery win. It's a lottery win when you move up.
Yeah.
So now, who needs it the most? I think, look, they're all pretty bad teams for now.
Yeah.
Who needs it the most? I would say, you know what? I would have to say Chicago. But 1 or 2 is good. So I'm going to say Chicago needs to get 1 and 2 because Chicago took a very, very big chance, big risk a few years ago when they really did a total teardown of the roster, trading Hagel, Debrincat, Kirby Dach, Ryan Strome, Ryan or Dylan. It was Dylan. Yeah, Dylan Strome. So I'm thinking they need lottery picks. They need to win the lottery. They won the Connor Bedard lottery. They didn't get Celebrity. They got the number 3 pick last year, which is good, Frondell.
Yeah.
But I think this could really be a make or break situation for Chicago, depending on who they pick this year.
Mm.
And if they don't pick 1 and 2, then the next best players are defensemen.
That's it.
And the thing is with them, they've already spent a number 2 overall pick on a guy who I think was not worthy of being chosen second overall. It's Artem Levshunov, who I think will be a good player, but not worthy of the number 2 pick. They passed on Demidov. They passed on Beckett Seneca to get this guy. And now it's, let's say they pick 3rd and they get Chase Reed. Okay, Chase Reed, I think, will be a very, very excellent defenseman in the NHL. However, Bedard is still not that well surrounded when you think about it. I like Frondell. I like Frank Nazar, although I don't think Nazar is a star, but he's a good player. I like, they have a couple of scorers like Nick Lardis coming up. I'm okay with all this, but they really need, like San Jose, they need another star up front.
Yeah.
But at the same time, is the defense going to be strong enough? And I know that you don't necessarily need a superstar on defense. You can have like a great group of 6, and that's enough, to win. I mean, look at Florida. They didn't really have like superstars, at least not big names on defense, but they won. But the question is, I think that's why they need another game breaker. And Ivor Stenberg or Gavin McKenna could be one of them. We assume they're going to go 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about the order. I think a few months ago, a lot of people would have thought Stenberg. Now it's kind of leaning towards McKenna again because he finished the season well. Stenberg slowed down. Lots to discuss in the next few weeks, but on Thursday, obviously, we'll try and do a little mock draft, like maybe a top 5.
Yeah.
The next best forward is Callum Malhotra. Callum Malhotra, who is still in the playoffs. I think if he goes to the Memorial Cup, has a great tournament, that could raise his stock, elevate his stock to top 5, maybe top 4. So it's not it's not a great draft, and there's no real surefire franchise player, but there are still good players to be had, like every year.
Absolutely. And look,
but does Vancouver need their first overall pick? Of course they do. They need everything. It's
that's it. That's what I was going to mention.
Yeah,
the Vancouver
they all
Canucks,
need the Rangers.
The Calgary Flames to me are one that really have no big time prospect. Zane Parekh is good. Guys like Connor Zary, Matt Coronado, fine players. They still need that superstar, and they haven't had that in a long time.
Why I chose Chicago, and I think your question was who needs it the most.
Yeah,
I don't think in a way Chicago needs it the most, but I think I'm just saying that this is probably the team that will be the most influenced, because if you add Gavin McKenna, let's say, to Vancouver, they have such a long way to go.
That's it.
If you add Gavin McKenna to the Rangers or Stenberg, they have a long way to go. Same with Calgary. I think that Chicago is trying to catch up to Utah, San Jose, Anaheim, and Montreal. They're brothers in the rebuild, and I think that's why they're the ones whose future will be influenced the most by the lottery tomorrow.
And
the other team, they are light years behind. I mean, trust the process could be on in 7 years, and who knows? These teams might still be a topic of discussion.
Yeah, no.
Whereas Chicago is really knocking on the door. Really,
it's a fair point. That's it. They're like one really big forward away from,
and a little bit of experience, and yeah.
Okay, now we can talk about taking the next step here. So no, to your point, I mean, the top 2 is pretty much set in stone here. It's going to be 2 forwards, and after that, it could be defensemen. So that's why I think it's worth acknowledging the Blackhawks here. But Snake, another team that would love to win the lottery here are the Toronto Maple Leafs. Okay. So okay, obviously we know why they want to win the lottery, but we got to talk about the hires first and foremost. John Chayka is the new general manager. Matt Sundin has a really weird title. I don't remember what it is. He's not exactly the president of hockey ops. He's like a
mascot.
I don't know.
Or maybe like Daniel. No, but I'm kidding. But maybe like Daniel Alfredson in Ottawa.
Possibly.
Look, who knows? Who knows? We don't know what happens in the office. I mean, look, I think they're just bringing back a name from the past to give credibility to the rebuild, or whatever it's called, the reset, the re something.
Because Matt Sundin has no real experience in an NHL front office. And again, these bringing back these past stars has rarely worked out, I find, for most teams. Like, look at the Yzer plan. You know what I mean? Is Steve Yzerman a beloved man in Detroit right now?
No.
He was when he was playing.
He was.
Right?
Yeah.
What happens if it's the same thing in Toronto? Will the people turn on Matt Sundin? It's a weird position to put him in.
Well, Sundin had experience in Sweden, but look, I'm not too. The thing about Sundin is that we don't know how he's going to be. Okay, but we know John Chayka, and that's my problem. Because with Sundin, I don't have a problem. I don't know. Maybe he's great. Maybe he's just a name. Maybe he's just a face, to make this rebuild look good. Is he going to be like Brendan Shanahan when he was hired, who was like basically the tsar of hockey? We don't know about Sundin, so we'll see. But John Chayka, why?
That's a weird
Why
one,
this
man.
dude? Okay, the little Mozart, from 10 years ago. How did
that end up?
There's something that really struck me about John Chayka when he was hired. He had the 5th overall pick in 2016, I think, or 2017. And, it was 2018, sorry. He had the 5th overall pick. It was the Kotkaniemi draft. And Kotkaniemi went number 3. Brady Tkachuk went number 4. And Barrett Hayton went number 5. And so he passed on Quinn Hughes, obviously. Well, like lots of teams, like the Habs. And he said, I became so obsessed with Barrett Hayton, I watched every one of his games. And I'm thinking, okay, I can understand, being fascinated by, Quinn Hughes or Rasmus Dahlin or Barrett Hayton. I mean, he's a good player.
He's fine, yeah.
He's fine. But he's really a third liner. And the guy had a fascination. And I was watching Barrett Hayton at the time, just for draft analysis purposes. And I'm thinking, okay, he's okay. I wouldn't have picked him at number 5, first of all, although it was a weak draft. But what really struck me was like, why are you so fascinated by this player? And to me, I said, okay, that's weird. So then you try to understand the guy. You see all the trades that he made. And most of them made no sense. And he was fired. And I know there was the situation. Yeah, the whole situation. Draft combine that he did, when he wasn't supposed to, whatever. But that I don't worry too much about these things. What I worry about is his track record as a GM. He was introduced as some wizard. And I'm always worried when I hear a guy being a wizard. Okay, there's no wizardry in being a GM. Okay, you're looking at players who are like 17 years old. You evaluate them, you draft them, you develop. It's not a total crapshoot, honestly, because otherwise we would just take the NHL Central Scouting list and pick the players, and teams wouldn't spend millions of scouting and development. But I don't like the idea of some guy who has like some kind of spreadsheet and, I have the answer now, the spreadsheet. That's what bothers me about these guys. And they don't really care about the eye test. And it's not math. Okay, it's a tool. You look at this tool. And, the way I see analytics is, sometimes I would tell you, this guy, let's say the Habs have the 26th pick this year, let's say. I'll tell you, 26th pick, if you look at past history, chances are he's going to be a fourth liner, let's say. To me, that's analytics. That's probabilities. Yeah. And sometimes you hit, sometimes you miss, like I did with Lane Hudson. I looked at probabilities. I took comparables. And I said, okay, small, undersized offensive defensemen in junior hockey usually don't make it big in the NHL. So to me, that's analytics. But just trying to figure out that because some guy had a certain percentage of zone entries vis-a-vis another player with look, it depends on who you play with. It depends on who you play against. It depends on the matchup, the lines. I mean, come on. This is not baseball. When you can tell, okay, this player against left-handed pitchers, he bats 143, and against right-handed pitchers, he bats 326. Okay, that's a fact. The guy cannot hit left-handed pitching. But just to base it on these stats that are very hard to compile when you think about it. I know the NHL has a bunch of people, working every game and, on block shots and this and that and zone entries and zone exits. And I'm like, wow. I go, you're going to base your evaluation of a player on this. And I know his sister is very much involved in this, Megan Jacob. I think she's a consultant with advanced stats, which I think are a tool. But my question right now is, what the heck did he tell Toronto manager? What the heck did he tell Keith Pelly? For Keith Pelly to say, that's my man.
He understood. That's my guess, right? But I'm just saying, probably understood exactly what Keith Pelly wanted. He listened to that press conference, took down some notes. He's like, that's exactly what I'm going to say. Look, his track record is horrible. Yeah. It's not even like, he used to be a GM and it didn't work out. No, it was a disaster.
It was a disaster, and that's why he wasn't hired right after. I knew the incident had something to do with it, but still, he was totally under the radar, this guy. If you had told me a month ago that John Chayka was going to come back to the NHL as a GM, I would have said, what? Where? I had forgotten about him. To me, it was part of NHL folklore, you know?
That's good. That's good. Well, look, the hire is made, so we'll see if they get to keep their first round pick this year. Or
that's probably the most interesting thing for me tomorrow.
Oh, man.
Because honestly, Boston, I like the way they've been drafting the last couple of years. They're a hardworking team. They lack talent, but they have drafted talent. And I think this is their chance now.
Could you
get a very, very high pick and make the Atlantic Division even more competitive?
Oh, man. If they get the 6th overall for Brandon Carlo. Actually, no, the 6th overall and Fraser Minton,
who's a very good
Brandon
player.
Carlo.
Yeah, a very good third-line player. Yeah.
Snake, this goes down in the history books. Like, wow. Yeah.
And
I'm almost hoping we see it.
They're probably going to draft a defenseman, which is what they need. You know, because McAvoy is probably the only offensive defenseman they really have on the roster.
This is the year to do it.
This is the year to do it. So I think in Boston today at TD Garden offices, this is probably the topic of conversation.
Oh my God!
So they're not going to send anyone, you know, with a good luck charm at the draft lottery ceremony. But they're most certainly talking about it and crossing their fingers. Look, if they don't, they'll get Toronto's pick next year or the year after. But you never know. You never know. You can't. Now you have a chance to get the 6th or the 7th pick. You want it now.
Yeah. Wow. Anyways, that's going to be quite the storyline. Last question I have for you on the draft lottery now. Because there is a debate to be had between McKenna and Stenberg, do you think it's actually more beneficial to get the 2nd overall pick than the 1st this year? Or would you still rather have the 1st?
Me, I want the 1st because you control the draft. But if you're the type of GM or chief scout who doesn't want to put his reputation at stake, you want number 2.
That's it.
Because then you say, well, I took the other one.
It's the easy one. It's
not an easy call. It's not an easy call because I think McKenna has a better potential of scoring lots of points. But overall, as a player, I prefer Stenberg. But we know points are important in people's opinion. And let's say Stenberg is a very good player at 70 points, but McKenna is okay player, but he has 92 points. Well, the team that picks Stenberg number 1, let's say, will be told, well, look, why did you pass on a 90-point player? Because it's always harder to explain what a great 70-point player can do for you than than an okay 92-point player can do for you, because points matter.
That's it. Listen, we're gonna discuss the draft in depth.
Once
Thursday. The playoffs are over.
Yeah, and Thursday we're gonna talk about the top 5 and the Boston pick, and it should be fun.
Can't wait. I can't wait. But Snake, last topic to cover for this show.
Oh, boy.
And it's the big one. Okay, the Edmonton Oilers bounced in the 1st round after Connor McDavid gives them a timeline. Let's be honest here. It's a timeline to say, build a contender around me or I'm gone. The last 2 years, they went to the Stanley Cup Finals. They made it all the way to Game 7 the first time around. So you know what? They're close, right? They're close. They get bounced in the 1st round by the Anaheim Ducks now. This is a significant regression, which begs the question, of course, what's next in Edmonton? I think we can all assume that there's going to be a coaching change, possibly even some change up in front office. And obviously there's going to be some personnel change on the ice. But for 97 specifically, at what point does he just say, like, you guys aren't going to salvage this? there is no future in Edmonton. Send me somewhere else.
Well, I think there are two key dates, really, this summer and next summer, because he has 2 years left on his contract. Obviously, his value is going to be much higher this summer because next summer he becomes a rental player. And but next summer he's also eligible to sign an extension, which means that whoever he's traded to come July 1st, he can sign. So you can almost do a sign and trade thing with him. Whereas this summer, any team that acquires him cannot sign him to an extension. They can get a verbal agreement. But then again, if things don't go well this year, let's say McDavid is traded to, I don't know, Boston, and doesn't go well, then he might say, not sure I'm going to re-sign with you guys. Whereas next summer, you can do a sign and trade. You can, or conditional to, the same way when Wayne Gretzky was traded in 1988, he had 1 year left on his contract before becoming an unrestricted free agent. And he pretty much decided where he was going to go. And I think it was either going to be Detroit, Vancouver, or Los Angeles, according to the documentary that they had on ESPN a few years ago. Maybe there were other teams, but basically there were not 20 teams on his list. There were 21 teams at the time. There were not 20 teams on his list where he would go. So Connor McDavid has a no trade clause.
That's huge.
Maybe, where does he want to go? Does he want to go to California? Because the California teams, San Jose, Anaheim can be interesting for him. I think he would probably want to go to a team where he can win now, and a team that will not be too weakened by a trade in order to get him.
So this is important, Snake. Let's pause here for a second, because that's a factor that I feel a lot of people are overlooking in a potential McDavid trade. Now, I've seen some mock trades, and people are saying, well, if he goes to the Habs, they're going to have to give up Suzuki, Demidov, and Fowler, right? That goes beyond, that contradicts the whole point of this trade. And Connor McDavid will have to approve that trade, right? Like, if he sees that the other team that he's going to has to deplete themselves in order to get him, it's one step forward, one step back. You're still at the same spot. There's no difference, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if he goes to a team that has enough future assets to acquire him while still remaining relevant and a contender and have the cap room, then it makes sense.
Well, the thing is, when Wayne Gretzky was traded, the pieces were very simple. Obviously, there were $15 million, which was a fortune at the time, and you cannot do this anymore. You cannot trade players for money. But in terms of players, there were 3 first-round picks, but we all knew that they were going to be late first-round picks because, getting Gretzky would make the Kings better, and this is what happened. There was a guy, you might have heard of him because he played a long time in the NHL. Martin Gilina was traded in that trade. At the time, Martin Gilina was 18 years old, and he had been the 7th overall pick in the draft. And there was that 20-year-old guy named Jimmy Carson, who had a 55-goal season at the age of 19, a record that still has not been beaten. No player in the history of the NHL has ever scored 55 goals as a 19-year-old. Not even Mario Lemieux, not even Connor McDavid, not even Sidney Crosby. Steven Stamkos came close, 51. So that was an important piece that Edmonton received in return. It didn't work out well with Jimmy Carson, but that's another story. The point is, at the time, if you're going to do mock trades, I think you have sort of based it on the Gretzky trade.
Crazy that we're even talking about this, but yeah.
But look, it's easy now to just and now the question is, did Los Angeles became worse by turning Jimmy Carson, Martin Gilina, and 3 first-round picks? Well, obviously, the 3 first-round picks didn't matter. Martin Gilina was not even part of the roster. Jimmy Carson, 55 goals. So it kind of became Carson against Gretzky. I think at the time there was no comparison. I love Carson as a young player, but when Gretzky was Wayne Gretzky. So I think right now, let's say you do a deal with Anaheim. Okay, let's say Anaheim has to give up either a Carson or a Gauthier or a Seneca. That's for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
You can't just say, "Oh, we'll give you 3 first-round picks and Tristan Luneau and Pavel Mintyukov."
No, that's it.
No, they're going to have to give up either Carson, Gauthier, or what's the other one? Seneca.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, if you move on to San Jose, Michael Misa has to be gone.
Well, it makes sense. He's the 2C.
That's my point. But it's okay because Misa is not really an established player. I think he'll be great, but McDavid right now is McDavid. I mean, you can compare both. But they're going to have to give something up. So if the Habs get into the Derby, and I think the Habs have the assets to do it, it's going to hurt. There is one fan favorite who's, who sold lots of jerseys, whoever it is, he was going to be traded.
Yeah. And we also have to consider what Edmonton would want, right?
Yeah.
So at the same time, right, obviously you're not going to get proper return for McDavid.
No.
That's just never going to happen, right?
No.
If you were to trade McDavid straight up to Anaheim, you would have to give up Carlson, Gauthier, and Seneca.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So that's what
although
we're talking about
McDavid is getting older.
Yeah. But
okay,
still,
you're not
number
getting,
one.
You're not getting McDavid from the age of 21 to 28.
No.
You're going to get McDavid from age, let's say next year, 30 to 37.
Yeah.
It's a diminishing return. So but I do understand your point.
And in all of this, what Edmonton receives can't be lost in the discussion either, because they still want to compete. Like, they'll still have Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, Bouchard, Hyman. So they'll still want to be good. So they might use those assets to then trade and then pick up current pieces. I think there has to be a goaltender involved in any trade with Edmonton, clearly.
Yeah.
Right. So all of that has to factor in. We're not going to get
Montreal
into trade.
Which Montreal has,
They've got
but
to.
Anaheim doesn't.
No, exactly. Anyways, we're going to get into trade speculations and more into this discussion as the summer goes on. I don't think it's likely that we see something this summer.
No.
But if next playoffs, Edmonton gets bounced early, I think it's almost a certainty that we see a McDavid trade, because Edmonton won't lose McDavid for nothing. They're not going to let him walk in free agency. They're going to trade him. They're going to get their money's worth. So that's where we stand, Snake. It's crazy that we're having this discussion, but
I think the only question that remains with McDavid, and I'm not part of his inner circle. I'm not inside his head. Obviously, I don't know his girlfriend. But the point is, I know the guy. He's sick of losing. I think he wants to win the cup. He knows he's the best player in the world. For how many years? We don't know. Yeah. McDavid doesn't have that many years left as the best player in the world. Let's be honest. He's 29. So I think it's a situation where, is it possible that at some point, because signing a 2-year deal was pretty significant. Otherwise, he would have renewed for 8 years at $20 million. Because if he just say, okay, well, look, I like it in Edmonton. Whatever happens, happens. I'll get my money. Who cares? That's a philosophy that some players could have.
Mm-hmm.
Or a certain attachment, to look, Sidney Crosby renewed in Pittsburgh a few years ago. He knew the team wasn't going anywhere. But, Sidney Crosby is synonymous with the Pittsburgh Penguins right now. And he decided that, I'm going to take $8.7 million. Doesn't matter. We'll see what happens. I'm here for life. Does McDavid reason that way? That's the big question. Because I think had he been reasoning this way, he would have signed an 8-year, $150 million extension.
Bingo.
That's
why I say it was a timeline.
He took 12.5, and they spent the savings on Jake Wallman. Think about it.
And this is why we're talking about a potential
Jake
McDavid
Wallman got the savings on McDavid. McDavid, instead of getting 19.5, he gets 12.5. And then they turn around. Oh, Jake Wallman has signed for 7 years. We're very happy for him to be with us for the next 6 years. He was a key player in our playoff run in 2025. You know, these press releases.
Yeah.
Okay, this is ridiculous. I would be furious if I were McDavid. You know, and my $7 million went to Jake Wallman.
Snake.
I mean, nothing
for 8 years.
Yeah, exactly. Jake Wallman is just it's an example because it just so happened to be the number that McDavid would have gotten.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you remember, you know, when the basketball players do this and they try and work together. You know, I remember LeBron James going to Miami so he could be with his friends, Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh.
Yeah.
Well, they all sort of negotiated. Okay, well, I'll take less. You take a little bit less. We work all three together. They won 2 championships. That's okay. But McDavid pretty much gave them a $7 million blank check. And they signed Jake Wallman to an extension. And whatever, trade Trent Frederick, although he cost less. But that was ridiculous for a supporting player, that kind of contract. So I think that's what could push McDavid out of there. Could a new GM help? But a new GM, who is it going to be? Some guy who won the cup but failed afterwards? Because that's a tendency in Edmonton. That's the 3 last GMs. And, you know, Stan Bowman is getting blamed, and I'm not a big fan of the Bowman's, but Jeff Jackson is the one who screwed up the summer before when he let go of Holloway and Broberg, putting them on the back burner because, RFAs, you know, no one signs these guys. No one offer sheets them. He gives that money to Arvidsson, Jeff Skinner, and then come August, you know, when everything's quiet, boom, boom, Holloway, Broberg offer sheeted by St. Louis. What a fantastic move. Holloway, by the way, signed an extension this year. He's a very good player. And Broberg is probably St. Louis's best defenseman.
Breakout season for him.
So, you know, I think that's where the table turned. Because the Oilers went to Game 7 against Florida 2 years ago. They were very close. If they keep Broberg and Holloway and Ryan McLeod, let's not forget, who was traded to Buffalo. That's 3 young players, without necessarily being superstars, who are up-and-coming, great supporting players for, you know, McDavid and Draisaitl and Hyman. They lose all these guys. Then they still make it to the finals. But this year, it was very predictable. And I don't know exactly what the draft order is going to be, but I think they're giving up a top 20 pick to the Sharks for Jake Wallman. Because the pick was top 12 protected. So I don't know what the draft order will be, but I think it could be the 19th pick or something. You know, a top 20 pick, I think, is a great asset. After number 20, not so, but a top 20 pick it's ridiculous to give up. So on top of this, look, it's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster, and I gave up on the Oilers, and it's too bad. My favorite player of all time, Connor McDavid, very disappointed in what happened in Edmonton. But it'll be interesting to see the next path, the path he follows in his career. But let's not forget, he's 29.
That's it.
He's 29. He has a few good seasons left, but I don't think he has necessarily 7, 8 good well, I don't think he has 7 or 8 fantastic seasons left, unfortunately.
Disaster is the correct
but for a team who's knocking on the door, even if he's not that great in years 6, 7, and 8, it's not a big deal because I think he still has 3, 4 great years. So if he can win you a couple of cups, that's perfect.
Listen,
so if he went to San Jose or Montreal or Anaheim and he won a cup or 2, that's fantastic. Even though at the end of his contract he's not what he used to be.
Sidney Crosby was still one of the best players in the NHL at 39 years old, right?
Not the same type of player. Not the same type of player, but however, the skill level is on par, right? So we can't predict the future. We can't say that at 39 years old, Connor McDavid will have the same impact as Sidney Crosby, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Because one thing that, but Guy Lafleur once said, he goes, when he was asked, what is the first thing that you lose as an aging hockey player? And he said, the hands. Connor McDavid's game is based on his hands.
Yeah. I don't know.
Look, it kills me to say that. I want him to win 10 Art Trust trophies in a row, okay? He's my favorite player of all time, but I also have to be realistic.
Odds are that, we'll see a regression at some point, but listen, whatever the price you have to pay, I think many, if not all teams will line up in front of Stan Bowman's office with an offer and say, we would like to get him, please. Yes. Time will tell. We're going to discuss this. We might do a whole show on this, Snake.
It would be a fantastic fit in Montreal, by the way, because the Habs, without necessarily being an immediate cup challenger, they're still knocking. They are knocking on the door. Let's be honest.
Of course.
And with Connor McDavid, they become a legit cup contender right away.
We're talking dynasty. If depending on what the Habs give, if in a hypothetical scenario here, like we could be talking about a potential dynasty if that were to happen. So to me, the fact that McDavid is 29 and doesn't have a ring on his finger it's just sad.
Will you want to play with Celebrini in San Jose?
Sure, he wouldn't mind that.
That would be great.
There's going to be many suitors, and he's going to have a few destinations on his sheet.
But, 1-2 punch, yeah. But the problem is San Jose is the same as Los Angeles back in 1988. They lack depth. And also you have to. That's why the Kings never won. The Kings never won with Wayne Gretzky because they lack depth.
Yeah, and we can't forget the assets that can be traded. Mm-hmm. Which team can provide the best offer to Edmonton? That's also going to play a factor here because McDavid, look, he's a nice guy. He doesn't want to leave the Oilers high and dry. Like he'll be like, okay, you guys get the good return. I also want to get on a good team here. Don't take their best players. It's going to go something like that if it does happen. Snake, we've gone almost an hour and a half. We knew it was going to be a big show. So much to talk about. I think we could have even done another hour and a half. But we'll do that on Thursday, okay? And there's going to be a lot more to discuss as well. Game 1, Montreal-Buffalo will have taken place. We'll know more of what happens in the Laval Rocket series. We will know who has won the draft lottery. And maybe more news will come out until then.
Well, the CHL playoffs, there are Game 7s right now in Ontario and
Justin Garbonneau, 5.5 seconds to go.
Yeah, Bobby Moncton will know who will represent the Q in the finals against Chicoutimi. Brentford Barrie, Game 7. Pickford gone. Medicine Hat was eliminated last night. We'll talk about it on Thursday.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to miss it. So that's it for us today. For Simon the Snake Boisvert. Thank you to producer Jimmy back at Master Control. And by the way, for those wondering, the actual title for Matt Sundin is Senior Executive Advisor of Hockey Operations. That's a mouthful. I have no idea what that means, but that's
for those who speak French among our listeners. An expression we used to hear when I was a kid was "Ça mange quoi en hiver, ça?"
I love it. I love it. So shout out to producer Jimmy for giving me that information. He's on his game. He's the best. I'm producer Shayne. This has been another edition of the Sick Podcast. Trust the process. We'll see you Thursday. Take care, everybody.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Trust the Process on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.